Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our final episode of After the Snuff, recapping Dynamic Character Productions' third long game, Corkscrew Cove. This is the episode you've all been waiting for. I am here joined by the runner-up, Ryan, and the winner of Corkscrew Cove, Ben Katz. Gentlemen, fantastic to have you here. I've been looking forward to this. Hopefully you have been too. Ryan, how are you doing tonight?
From like the game or from like just life?
Just in general.
Oh, I feel dead.
Oh, okay. Well, hopefully,
Tuesdays are my busy days with classes. I had four today.
hopefully talking about the game gets a little more life in you. And Katz, how are you doing? You are officially, like, publicly the winner of Corkscrew Cove now. How are you feeling?
I mean, it's like I was so excited to watch the final episode, so that was really fun because honestly, I blacked out at Final Tribal. Like I didn't remember anything that I said. So that was really fun. But like in general, I'm doing really good and it's been really fun to watch back the season. Um yeah, it's been a crazy experience and I never expected to win, and so it's just really great to watch the whole thing back and see everything that was going on fully and also get to experience it with the cast. Like it's been really fun. Our group chat's been really active. I feel like a lot of the time post games, like group chats and orgs can be not so great. But the cast has been like really great, and I think everyone's been really supportive across the board. So it's been a good experience. So
Yeah, I mean, just from like my experiences on production and everything, your cast is so active together. Just like you guys can't quit each other. You're hanging out with each other all the time still. And we love seeing it. We're glad that like these type of tight friendships can come out of our games. And it's really glad to hear that you guys, have been going through it all together, recapping everything together, and just getting to relive this experience together and complete your journey as you watch the game unfold and get to relive it all.
yeah.
But let's start in this game because we have a lot to get through tonight. Sorry ahead of time, everyone. We're probably going to go a little long today, but let's just start at the beginning. Ryan, starting off, you're marooned. You're on this Gerstlauer tribe. How was the start of the game for you?
Well, can we also state this game was supposed to start a week ahead of time and then it got pushed back a week, which really screwed me because I was going on spring break, which, yeah, the marooning happened. And then the very next day, I was going home for spring break. So I really didn't get on the right foot with like trying to like get to know people. And Katz did say in the later episode that going to tribal is good. Yeah, it's good when you know people and you trust people. Now for the first tribal, where I can barely talk to people and people are forming tight alliances and stuff. Like the game night, I joined for 10 minutes on the call we had. And there was Gabby, Bryant, Tawni, and Jared. Which I mean, all on a call, and I joined them like couple minutes. Couldn't park light off on like I'm going to a whole nother state. I'm going with my dad and my brother-in-law to go watch baseball. Like you see a couple of my confessionals, I'm at the game, being like shooting, and I mean it was hard, but the challenge is what really made it fun. I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, you have a good point, right? Like, again, and we've talked about it so many times with so many of the castaways this season, right? Like, life happens while you're playing these games, and you have to pay attention to it and deal with all of that, and it throws its wrenches in. Luckily, it didn't seem too detrimental to you in the end. Yes, it kind of put you on the outs with the Gerstlauer tribe and put you on the bottom, but it kind of left you in this position where, as the game progressed, it made you a bit more of a free agent and not as associated with those people. So you weren't targeted as much for being that way. But on the other side of things, and it's kind of like our conversation that we had with Jordyn and Gabby last week, there's Katz, who's gets to, form a very tight alliance early in the game. What was your experience when this game started?
Oh my gosh. Like it was so weird because it started on a Friday or something. And so we had like a weekend period or something between
Mhm.
like waiting for Gersh Tribal to happen. And so it was a lot of like, hey, let's have the small talk, but also like people were itching to talk game. And I think it was just it was a weird way to start the game, like scheduling wise and pacing wise. Um, because also we had the partners already. So we were like, what information can we get from them? Like, we don't really know these people, but like they're going through strategy talks that we're not having. And so it was just very weird, pacing wise, but it definitely picked up. So it didn't matter. But yeah, I think at the start of the game, that's how I felt. And just instant connections with Jordyn, Sam, and Erin. So like those were my people, and I knew that. And yeah, it was just like great because like you've said on a lot of your after the snuffs, which I agree with, you play the game level, got along so well with them.
Mhm.
So it was a good start to the game, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to feel confident with that type of alliance forming that
Yeah.
early too, right? Like, and especially when it's like you said, like people you enjoy spending time with. So you miss that first tribal council, you go to a second tribal council. That Joe boot seemed like it came pretty easy for you guys on that tribe.
Yeah, no, that boot was like kind of crazy though, because I mean it was pretty easy, but it was also a little crazy because of just the way the challenge happened. Like I really the word conductors was just not in my vocabulary.
Yeah.
Like obviously I said what I had to say and I was like I needed another hint. There was no hint. Like I'm letting Joe free. Like there was no hint that was gonna give me that. The
Mhm.
word wasn't in my vocabulary, but I had been told right off the bat that he was throwing me under the bus for it.
Right.
But at the same time, to me, he was saying, we're in this together. We've screwed up the challenge together. Let's stay together. And so I was like, I already have my core alliance with the Divas, but then you're doing this. And I also had Hath talking to me a lot about things, which I think at that point I had trusted Hath a little bit, but not a ton, because just for reasons that have been talked about already. But yeah, so I hadn't, you know, I was very wary of Joe, and I was scared that maybe I would get the stray, and like I didn't know what was going to happen. You don't want to get strays early on. Once your name is thrown out once, it's easy to pick up steam later. So it was just kind of like a little chaotic, but easy in that I knew that the numbers were there. But what was neat was I had Hathaway kind of push to switch Joe's vote to Erin from me
Mhm.
for the way in case there was a night. Also, at that point, I was sitting in the game and I was like, I have a core alliance. Like, I have Hathaway pushing this stray off of me. Like, I was feeling pretty good about myself at that moment. So yeah, it was pretty good.
And I think
I
we'll
would
get
like to
into like
say,
your relationship with Hathaway a little bit more further on when it develops a little bit more and there's a little bit more to talk to. But Ryan, I want to talk about the partner twist with you because like this is something not very common in Survivor games, and I would say it's safe to bet you and Cade were the partnership that worked the best together throughout this entire game.
yeah, no, I would definitely agree on that. And referring to like how Katz's like first part of the game went, we had completely opposite games.
Mhm.
He Katz felt really good with the people on his tribe. No one felt good with me on my original tribe. And we're partners to the point where like me and Cade, if someone was telling Cade something, I knew, and if someone was telling me something, Cade knew. Like we
Mhm.
worked hand in hand together, and I knew after the first tribal, being blindsided with the uh Gabby idol, like the idol play on Gabby, and not being like clued in on the true plan, the random Tawni vote that got blamed on me for being chaotic. I really had to work with Cade, and it's really funny if you look at our intro videos
Mhm.
where Cade said that he was expecting characters, and everyone said I was going to be a character. I don't really feel like people know the true me. I played a character for this game because I'm like, oh, it's going on YouTube. I wanted to be a little bit funnier, be a little bit more out there. I'm not making duck analogies all the time. I'm not comparing everything to like the life. This is also me just watching Drew play Survivor. So I'm like, oh, let's get some analogies out on the table. But yeah, no. I would say I'm a goofball by any means, but I played that up a lot. And I think that's what really worked me and Cade, because I feel like Cade really thought he understood exactly what I wanted to do because I was the character he was prepared for to be in this game and to
Mhm.
work with. And I think he made a lot of logical sense playing the game. I need to play the game with logical people because I can predict what they're going to do because they're logical. And a lot of people thought I was irrational, so they couldn't really predict the moves I did. But it worked. It worked well.
Well, I'm very similar to you. I prefer working with logical people, so I definitely understand why you would be drawn to Cade because it was very easy to see exactly how he would be thinking and reacting to certain situations. Katz, Brian brought up this Tawni vote in the first one, and like we were talking stray votes. There's only one vote we can talk about to start this off, right? So we get to this swap, and it is a different type of swap where you're with your partners and you go to winner's beach and loser's beach. And Ben, you end up on loser's beach with, some of the divas, and you're figuring things out. You come up with this alliance with like Bryant and Benji and everything, and Josh, and you're all working together. You get to the vote. A very easy Kolby vote, wasn't there really to defend himself. Didn't have a vote to defend himself with either. Made it a very easy decision. And you throw this hinky vote on Tawni. And was it a necessary hinky vote? I don't know. But from what you experienced in the game, what was your intention behind this vote? And did this vote reach that goal?
So, yeah, I think like just to put things into perspective, like when you're in the game, like your perspective becomes super myopic. Like you're not really able to, you don't have complete information. So you have to just do the best that you can with what is being told to you without being too skeptical, without being too optimistic. So I know myself with challenges and I know that I'm not the greatest at them. I know they're kind of hit or miss for me. If it's something that I'm good at, I'm gonna eat it up. But if it's something I'm bad at, I'm really like gonna have a conductor moment. So I figured that I would probably be on Loser's Beach the entire time. And also when I saw the structure of it, I knew that I kind of wanted to be on Loser's Beach. So I wasn't that interested in winning because of just the format of being on Winner's Beach. You're in the minority. I wanted to build trust with people. It's a 16-person cast. I knew we would be getting to merge like relatively quickly. So I was very interested in being able to like have the opportunity to go to tribal. So all of that being said, I knew that I would be staying on Loser's Beach most likely. And so at that vote, already there was a lot of distrust in Tommy just based on the things that he would say and trying to strategize a little too much on votes, like throwing a hinky vote to like from Cade having an idol and whatever. So there was just like a lot that was going on. And I think Tommy had mentioned this somewhere in maybe his After the Snuff or something, but there was an alliance chat at that point where we played a game night code name. So it was like the Code Names Alliance.
Yep.
And so we had with like basically like OG Vacoma. And so Tommy was saying that he wanted to throw a stray in case of an idol at this voter. And it was like for funsies. And I was like, this is perfect. Like, I actually love this because I want to be able to set myself up to have a safety vote later down the line, like give myself an easy vote out, but I'm still able to like communicate to people clearly and honestly about that. And then I can build trust, later down the line in this easy vote to set up. Already, it wasn't super necessary because Tommy wasn't in the greatest standing on the tribe. But every tribal, in my opinion, when I play games, is like a way to further your own game if you're thinking about it correctly. And so to throw a hinky vote is to cause distrust and maybe people that have just want to have a self-fulfillment moment, right? Like if you see a hinky vote and it matches what you believe about someone else, and then you can connect that dot for them, and then you're like, okay, great, there's this issue that I'm not a part of, but you have to do it wisely. I think I did it pretty wisely. And I think it did work out for me because it did set Tommy up to be the boot later on Losers Beach. So I think all in all, it was like a net positive for me. But I did feel really badly doing it to Tommy because like as a person, I love Tommy, but I do think like strategically it made sense for me and it did pay off the way that I needed it to.
Yeah, you really raise a really good point there where, I mean, we can't, Survivor takes a lot of skill. There's a lot of skill, a lot of strategy, a lot of social things. But sometimes you need to get a little lucky. And in this case, it's just kind of lucky that Tommy didn't decide to throw his own hinky vote here. And that Tommy's vote could account for the vote that everyone expected you to give. And your vote accounted for everything that Tommy was expected to give.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tommy gave me the ammunition to run with it. And I do think that like a good amount of Survivor is luck. And I do think, you know, in that moment that things went the way that I had thought about them, that they went that way is partly lucky, and that's okay. And I think that's part of the game too. So
absolutely. Well, Ryan, you had kind of a different experience again on when you were on Losers Beach here, because you after this round you were the target of the vote for a long period.
Yeah, no. So different from Katz, I didn't want to be on Losers Beach because I didn't have people I could really rely on for my original tribe. 2, we didn't have the numbers. And 3, I don't like going to tribal. You are insane for liking to go to tribal, you know. But I mean, hey, that got you the win, so fair play. But yeah, no. I knew I was in trouble when the 3 other people from my original tribe was Josh, Gabby, and Bryant. I mean, could you maybe if we added Tawni instead of Gabby, because Gabby couldn't vote for me because Gabby didn't have a vote, there wouldn't have been a worse like 3 to go to tribal with because no way those 3 flip on each other. And I didn't even know about the alliance they made, the cross tribal alliance. But I mean, Cade and I spent a lot of time working on getting me in with Vekoma. I mean, I really want to like bring up the thing that didn't get shown, mine and Katz's relationship, because I am not safe without Katz. I'm going to be 100% honest. There was a 3-2 fight with it was Tommy, Cade, and Katz fighting to keep me versus Jordyn and Sam. Throughout that fight, Jordyn actually said she didn't really care. She flipped with the side of 4, but even then, it was still on me because Sam didn't want to budge. But I guess miraculously, the call I had with Sam made Sam be like, "Oh, well, we could use him," and actually want to take Josh out because I mean, Josh or Bryant were way bigger threats than me. But at the time, their perception was I wasn't trustworthy because I threw the hinky vote on Tawni, which didn't happen. So you'll see a lot throughout this game. Katz throws hinky votes, he's trustworthy. I don't throw hinky votes, I'm untrustworthy. I am the exact opposite of Katz. Like, do we want to lay out any more parallels? Katz wanted to vote out his riding buddy. I want to keep my riding buddy safe.
It's a good point you make.
Well, so Katz, what made it so obvious like to pick up Ryan there, and that Ryan was a good person to keep alongside instead of like this Josh, Bryant, Gabby contingency that was there that you had already made an alliance with the round before? Why was it smarter to take Ryan as part of the Vekomas than ride out that cross-tribe alliance?
Yeah, I think, you know, this is something I'm going to talk about a lot in this after the snuff are things that were not shown. There's a ton of context that was not shown, obviously in the edit, which is like any edited show. So there was a lot happening at this vote that was not shown that involved, and I think, you know, actually in this one specific part, there's some shown. general, like I like to pick up bottom players like Bryant, like did very skillfully and masterfully. That's usually what I like to do. So this is kind of where where I'm able, and this is where I kind of felt like I could because Ryan was very clearly on the outs. So I was like, why would we do what they want just because they're down bad with people missing votes or, having whatever trust issues they're having with Ryan? Cade, I at that point had a really good relationship with Cade. I trusted Cade. Cade trusted Ryan. Ryan didn't have any trust with them. I was like, why are we booting Ryan here to make them happy so that their numbers are strengthened when we hit emerge? Like it didn't really make sense. So what Ryan is talking about was that there was basically just OG Vacoma and Sam really wanted to do Ryan. And me and Cade were like, and obviously I was placating a little bit. But in general, the idea was to make Cade happier, like bolster Cade's side a little bit, right? And like also have I was always trying to have a little out from the divas. Like that was always kind of happening on the side for me. So that was really the intention. But again, I mean, that was the vote. That was the Josh vote, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, again, the other thing was I personally, between Brian and Josh, wanted Josh out because as my writing, like I said from the beginning of the game, the writing buddy twist is not anything monumental to me. If we click, it's like any other relationship. If we click, great. If we don't, we don't. And then I'm going to probably want to vote you out. So like for me and Josh, he's a very sweet guy and we got along fine, but there wasn't a lot of information flow happening for me. Like, he had unsent a message one time that I was like, what do you like? What's that when we were trying to talk about game? And like, there were just a lot of question marks. Whereas I felt for Bryant and for Ryan, for that matter, I like knew like exclamation point. Like I knew where they stood. I knew where they were at in the game. Josh, I didn't. So there was like an unknown factor and then there were two known factors. And so really like that's what it came down to. And that conversation with the Codenames crew was really about trying to push Sam over to like do Ryan and like do so in a way that he felt comfortable in, which was great because actually something else that wasn't shown was that like that strengthened me and Cade's relationship because it was like me and Cade to save Ryan. So yeah, that was it. But yeah, Ryan, I don't know what you want to say.
I also want to add on, even at that point, me and Katz were like pretty, like I felt super close to Katz. And Katz was like telling me that it was going to be me, him, and Cade flipping on Jordyn, Sam. I think that was post Erin getting kicked in half, but whatever. But I actually felt super close to Katz, and I actually was gonna say Katz was my number one. Yes, Cade was my riding buddy, but I wanted my number one to be more hidden. Like I thought people could see mine and Cade's relationship. Turns out a lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah, but I wanted to have like my number one be truly someone that no one knew. So I was feeling really good with Katz up until I hear information about something. But that's later on.
That's later on. But Katz, I think you bring up a really important part here, and I think this is what set you apart from the rest of the divas. Is you spent so much time working on these relationships with everyone in the game throughout the entire thing, and not saying that Sam and Jordyn didn't do that, but I think even when it didn't seem pertinent to do so, you were always doing so, and I think that's why we end up seeing you win at the end of this game.
Yeah, no, and I think that's also something that wasn't necessarily shown in the edit because it's a lot of like, day by day chats and like subtle strategy, nothing like always super pertinent to the vote and the storyline, right? So I think those kinds of conversations are what carried me through, which we can get to later in the merge. But like my relationship with Bryant was like very strong and it wasn't shown. So
yeah, and like you said, it's hard in an edited show. And that's the part of the game that's really difficult sometimes, right? Is there's this social game and it's hard to show. CBS has an issue showing it sometimes still after 46 seasons of Survivor. So, if they're having troubles, we sometimes do too, because sometimes it's just not relevant to everything else that's happening in there. And you have to make the episodes with the social game in mind as it moves forward. But like, you can't be too obvious with what you're showing because it kind of spoils the fun too.
Yeah, no, and complete shout out to like Prod as a whole for like the collaborative effort for the edit, because this was such a cool experience. Like I think a lot of people play orgs, I mean, that are super Survivor fans, but you don't always get to play an org that's an episodic YouTube series, and it has been so fun. And for the most part, the edit has been true, and it's such a big testament to production's care for this org in this game. And it's been so fun to watch it back, and all the props, especially to like McKenna and Carrie. And so, yeah, I just want to say that. But
well, on behalf of production, I obviously thank you. But like, we can't do it without you players, and that's the most important thing for us too, right? So we get through here, we get to this Tawni boat. What I'm really curious here. What motivated you to get rid of Tawni in this vote rather than one of the Gerstlauers?
Yeah, I think it was more so of just like, we just royally screwed so many people. Like, we don't actually want Tommy at merge, so like, here you go. Like, we're following through on this. And I think something that's important also to like just briefly touch on is that Jordyn and Sam, and I love them dearly, they were very optimistic about what that meant for the relationship with Bryant and Gabby. They were realistic, and they knew they probably won't trust us. But I was like, no, guys, they're going to turn on us the second they get. We just so screwed them. There is zero trust. So I think they were realistic, but I think they were hopeful. Whereas like I'm a skeptic. I was like, nope, it's done. Like, we need to go for them as soon as we can at merge. Obviously it played out differently. But yeah, so I think Tommy was more so of like a peace offering that didn't really work, but it's okay.
Right, but it's easy enough to see how that would work. Ryan, do you have any thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, no, because for me personally, it sucked because I just had a 2.5 hour call with him the night after you guys saved me and voted Josh out, and I was like, I want to say I had 2 different social games. I had Gerstlauer, which was awful. It was just there was no game. Then I had Vekoma. That some of the things besides my call with Jordyn, I would say most of my calls with Vekoma went well, and I would say that's the reason why I somewhat stayed over Josh. But yeah, no, Tommy going home. Me personally think that might have been one of the worst moves for Katz. But I mean, at the end of the day, it all worked out. But it sucked for me because I really saw Tommy as someone who a lot of people didn't fully trust because I got that information from Cade, but I knew Tommy trusted them, and I wasn't going to tell Tommy until I needed him to turn on them. I had that ammunition, and unlike telling people you have an idol 10 days before you're going to play it, you hold that information, and if you're going to play it that night, you'd be like, oh, hey guys, I have an idol. So no one's bamboozled at Tribal, but no one can plan to vote you out with the idol in your pocket. So I was going to wait before it could blow up at me.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And again, going back on that like luck conversation of it all, sometimes you commit 2.5 hours in a conversation to someone and they happen to be the next person voted out of the game. And it's completely out of your control as to how that can happen.
Can we also talk about the challenge, the awesome challenge that was, and how Cade chose for me to do the plank rather than him? Someone who's super fit chose me to do the plank, who probably didn't plank for like 3 years.
So what was the motivation behind that decision?
He goes, oh, I'm really good at crosswords. And I'm like, I was mediocre. So I'm like, okay, well, if it's a short time, it took him a while. No shade to Cade, but
No. We're throwing shade. We can throw shade here. It took everyone a while. And you know, this is one of those things that, again, before the season, we get together, we challenge test everything. And after this challenge ran, we as production were like, man, do we just test challenges too well now that we can't use ourselves to test challenges anymore? Because we were all solving that crossword or that word search in like a minute. And so when it got to the point where it was taking people like 15, 20 minutes, we were like, oh my God, we have made a terrible mistake here. And as evidenced by the fact that you each had 20-minute time slots for that challenge, and they quickly became much longer than that.
So why didn't you guys just have all the teams do it at once, but with a different crowd member?
We just didn't have enough production members to fully facilitate that. On the long games, we don't have. So, like, when we run a mini, we have, like, our full production team there for the entire day. But just like you guys have lives during a long game, we do too. So we are very limited as to how many production members we have access to in any given night of a long game. And we have to kind of work with those numbers. It was also because of the way that, like, the challenge worked. Because, like, again, what you guys don't see is, yeah, you see Ian and Lilly there are hosting the challenge, but there's like 3 or 4 of us behind the scenes watching every single thing you do and keeping meticulous timing for every single thing that's going on there, right? Like, every single second of that challenge is accounted for. So when we just, like, don't have, like, our 14-person prod team there for any given night, it's harder for us to facilitate something like this. And this was a really ambitious challenge for us to try. Like, big kudos to Ian and Lilly for coming up with it, because I think it was a really fun challenge. And then that was the feedback that your cast gave us afterwards, was like, despite the fact that it took all night, it was still super fun. And you know, there are some things that we had to adjust on the fly, like putting a time limit on things because things were taking too long. But that's just how it goes sometimes. Like, everything we do, yes, this is our 3rd long game and our 9th season in total. We're still learning every single season, because if we're not learning, then we're just giving the same old. We might as well be making our 1st season again, and we're not doing that. We have to try new things, and that way we learn how to make things better. So that challenge, yeah, it was a doozy of a night, but it was fun. It was rewarding, and it got us to this point where now we're at the merge. Now we're at the merge, and now the game gets really fun. So, Ryan, you're pretty much in with the Vekomas at this point. It's very clear, and there's an opportunity here for you to side with them and kind of start picking off these Gerslauers who have kind of ignored you up to this point. And Katz, you get some very pivotal information in this round that kind of changes the course of the game completely. Yeah. Let's just dive right into it. Tell us about the extra vote and what it led to.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, so the round started with the diva for me, from my view. For me, the round started with the divas reuniting, and me, Jordyn, and Sam had talked to Erin about how we felt about Benji, about Bryant, about Gabby, post Josh blindside, post offering Tommy up. And we had said that we felt threatened by Benji, just as a player, that, you know, he connected with us very quickly. You know, he was a strong social player, clearly. Like, we were worried about that, especially now in terms of, like, their retaliation for Josh. Erin, like, very quickly shot it down, was, like, not really open to discussing it. Like, she was not receptive whatsoever. Then Jordyn, Sam, and I had a separate conversation, and we were like, that didn't go well. That's scary. Like, we need to keep an eye on that. Something's up with that. So now we fast forward through the, you know, then I steal Jordan's idol, whatever that happens. Yeah. Then we fast forward through the challenge. Hathaway has immunity. Hathaway is on a war path for Benji, like, very open about it, is not hiding it to anyone. Everyone knows it. It's a huge topic of conversation. Had a very close relationship with Tawni. We talked a lot. We shared a lot of information about the game together, and make a final 3 pact. So I had that going as well. So Tawni was like, I'm not doing Benji. Then we hear about, you know, the infamous voice note and all of that. And the vote, like, people were like, I would rather vote Hathaway at this point. But Hathaway was immune. So, like, Hathaway could have been merge boot because of all of this. But he was immune. So then it landed on Tawni, because I don't even know who was like, it should, I think because of the voice note. I think Hathaway was, it's not going to be Benji because we all said no to Benji, then it has to be Tawni because of her saying no to Benji. So it landed on Tawni somehow. Then I get the extra vote information from Benji. And at the same time, I'm put in a trio chat with Benji and Erin. And I felt like, wow, I am like living on a high right now. I was like, I have a trio chat with Hathaway and Cade. I have a trio chat with Erin and Benji. I have a trio chat with Hathaway and Tawni. I have a trio chat with Jordyn and Sam. And I had the 4 of Divas.
Yeah.
So I was like, I am across the board covering the ground here. And I was like, this is going to topple. Like, this is not going to stay structured together. Like, something's wrong. So then I find out about the extra vote and I go and I'm like a little nervous about it, but I talk to Erin first. And this is where I decide to like push things back onto Benji because I had tested Erin and Erin failed my test. Right. I had said to Erin, hey, Benji told me about the extra vote. Because keep in mind, Erin didn't tell me. Benji told me. And I don't know if Erin knew at the time that Benji had told me. So I said to Erin, Benji told me about the extra vote. I said, do we tell the divas? So I put the ball in her court. I was like, I'm not going to tell you what I think we should do, even though I already knew what I wanted to do. I was like, I'm loyal to a fault to Jordyn and Sam at this point. I'm not betraying them. So Erin was like, no, we should not tell the divas. Like, you're my final 2. Like, I don't want to tell them yet. Like, we'll tell them when it's necessary. To me, that's a no-go. Like, Jordyn and Sam were my people. I was like, this is going to be used against them. I don't want to get into that situation. And then I spoke to Cade, and Cade, unprompted, unsolicited, I didn't even tell him about the extra vote yet, tells me about his trio alliance with them. And I was like, hold the phone. I was like, this is not happening. I was like, this is confirming like the self-confirmation bias, right? Like, I had already suspected something, and then I got that confirmation in 2 places. Yeah, Erin and Benji say that was their only trio chat, and like it's a shame that got out and confirmed something for me. But at that time, like that's what I'm perceiving. Like that's all I know. Like I have this like suspicion, and then it's confirmed. So like I'm like, okay, I need to talk to Jordyn. So when I talk to Jordyn, I'm like, Jordyn, am I crazy? I want to push this back. I agree with you. We need to do it. And I'm like, Jordyn, thank you for that. So then we mobilize. I go back to Cade. I made it sound whatever. I did all the things, and we got the group together, put it back on Benji, and then blindsided Benji. And I think, you know what, I've watched all the After the Snuffs. I've listened to all the commentary. I think it was a good move for my game. I stand by that. I think the mishap there was, at the time, what I thought was a mishap was, so the extra vote was more dangerous than Erin, purely because in this game, there's no revote. It's just rocks. If this game had a revote mechanism, I wouldn't be as scared of an extra vote because it doesn't usually carry over on the revote in other orgs. So in my mind, okay, you could just revote on Benji and it's fine. It doesn't matter. This game, it's rocks. So we blindside Benji after all of this. He's just going to use the extra vote back on us and force rocks the next round anyway. It's comical that it didn't matter in the end because we went to rocks anyway the next round. But that was my perception at the time. That was my idea at the time. And everyone agreed with that idea. And the consensus fell on that. And so I stand by it now. At the time, I regretted it because of how good of a player Erin is. But I think, you know, I had heard, I think there was a confessional where Erin said, like, they were going to use it. Like, that was the goal. Like, that they were going to use the extra vote as their way out or, like, something like that. There was some, like, confirmation there that was the intent. So, like, I stand by it. And you know, ultimately it worked out for me, so it doesn't matter. But
you know what? I'm really glad you bring that up though, because the tie mechanism in this game, like using the game changer rules where vote goes to rocks immediately, that does give an extra vote a lot more power than it has normally. That's a really good point, and it's a shame that isn't something we see in the episodes, because I think you're correct. I think that does justify the decision here. And I mean, even Jordyn said last week, you know, it makes sense to get this extra vote out of here. That's what I was scared of. I wasn't scared of Erin at that point. And looking back at it, obviously Erin is a very good Survivor player, knows what she's doing. And I don't know with any type of foresight if you could have predicted exactly how things would have gone down with Erin in this situation.
And I do want to also just clarify that, you know, by no means did I ever think that nobody had the right to do what I was doing. And I say it at Final Council. My mentality in the game is that everybody is playing exactly the way that I'm playing. Like everybody's playing the game. Everyone's trying to get a one up on each other. So I wasn't like burned or mad or upset that I felt like Erin was trying to get an out from the defense because I was doing the same thing. It's just a matter of the fact that like I found out about it. And the other issue was that Jordyn and Sam were my people. And like at that point, you know, I wasn't turning on them and I needed them for the long run. So that's an immediate threat to my people. And so for me, in that moment, it felt like the first stone was thrown. Like this was an extra vote that Erin knew about that she didn't want to tell me about. That's the way that I'm thinking about it in that moment. So
Ryan, go for it.
I also want to add on. So, Katz, you said you think it's going to go to Ox. I think it would have been way worse because if Benji's in the game and Gerstlauer has those four, not including me, and the extra vote, well, it's a 6-5 vote and they go home anyways. But if Hath or I flipped, which I did end up flipping, one of you guys would have went home automatically. So there would have been no rocks. It would have been a 6-5 vote. When Vekoma goes home, then it's a 5-4 game.
Yeah, but we didn't have the knowledge at that time of like where people fully sat. So all I knew was like if the numbers balance out this way, the extra vote could be used in this way. We also did have our two idols. So there was that. So it was this is the thing. I know Erin says it a lot in the episodes, and I love Erin dearly. We're not good with playing with power. Who is good with playing with power? Power in Survivor always toppled. Like I knew, and I say this at Final Tribal too, my strategy was that when inevitably my group, my power falls and slips away, that I'm not the one sniped, that I'm able to pick up the pieces. That was always the bottom line strategy. So it wasn't a matter of trying to preserve power or play with power. I just happened to end up in that position because of my social game. The goal was to have outs. And I think that's what I did. So it worked out, but like this concept that people should be able to just hold power the entire game, like is just a misnomer. It's not possible. Like,
no, 100%. I absolutely agree with that. And that's why we get a comment on the fact that people struggle at playing with power, because people struggle with playing from a position of power, because it is. And I mean, I said this previously on After This Snuff. I would way rather play from the bottom than play from the top sometimes, because it's easier. It is easier to play from the bottom because you're an asset to people and you don't have to manage assets yourself.
Yes. And you also have no liabilities. When you have power, shit ton of liabilities that you have to manage really hard. And like, oh my gosh, yeah. Anyway.
Well, you mentioned another very important thing here. This immunity idol that you took from under Jordyn's nose here. Let's just go over that quickly.
Sure. Yeah, so I mean, like, anyone who's watching this, don't solve things on a call out loud. I love Jordyn dearly, but all I did was while they were cranking away, because I knew for sure I was not mathing this math thing out, because that's what the clue was. It was like math stuff. I was not doing that. So while they're solving it out loud, I literally sat there, keys at the ready, in my host chat, in my confessional chat. Like I was literally just sitting there waiting. That's how I got it in so fast, because Jordyn is like writing and says it out loud, and the second she says it, she didn't put the pen down. I had put it in already. So honestly, like in my head starts spinning because I get it, and Jordyn's like, it's gone, it's not there. Like what? Like, and they're freaking out, and I'm like receiving it, and I'm like, whoa, what am I gonna do? So I had a few options at that point. The first one was to not say anything and not take it, which I had considered, but I really wanted it because who doesn't want an idol?
You take it.
Yeah, so that was one thing. I mean, also to preface, as everyone knows, you know, I had to do the iPhone or the 16 in my name thing. So I was like, it's either like if I can't take it and not tell them. So like granted that they know the number. So I was like, it's really between taking it or not taking it. And if I take it, I have to tell them. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna take it and I'm gonna tell them and I'm gonna say, I got it for us. Like, don't worry. But I did also say, and this didn't really, it showed up in the episode maybe for a second. I had told Jordyn I would give it back. I was like, I
Yeah.
feel really bad. I'm gonna give it back to you. Like, it's yours. But I say this at Final Tribal, I didn't end up giving it back. Not because I'm like greedy. I did really want to give it back to her. It became another liability for me because I had known the idol became public knowledge. So now everyone is associating this idol with me. If people start talking to me about it, I have to now throw Jordyn under the bus, and people will probably still not believe me. So the best thing I can do at this point is have the idol and play it right away and get rid of it. So I was actually gonna play it at the Jeremy's challenge, like the immunity challenge that I won with Erin Pass. I was gonna play it that round, but I won immunity, so I didn't need to. And it wasn't because I did think Erin was coming after me, and it turns out she really wasn't. She was like coming after around me, right, with Sam and whatever. I did think she had it out for me, so she was right in that call. But it was beyond that. I wanted the idol gone. Everyone knew about it. It's public knowledge. I needed it gone, and I needed to, as Hathaway says, like we were 2 nukes or whatever. I had to like denuclearize. I had to like just get rid of everything. And so I'm stepping ahead, but like I think the best thing for my game, and we see it in the episode, was when both idols were gone and Sam was gone, because as everyone said, I magically vanished from the radar. Like it's incredible how that happened, really.
No, yeah, I think you raise a good point. Yes, Ryan, please.
I want to go back before, like, about the idol thing. So so in the episode it shows me going to Cade, oh, you want to look for try to figure this idol out 3 hours later. Well, I already knew it was gone 15 minutes into the idol, but I wanted Cade to think that I wasn't paying too much attention to the game and stuff like that. I wanted Cade to think that he was masterminding me, because I wanted the bigger threats. So that's why I texted him, hey, you want to look for the idol now? And so I would, that didn't get shown, because a lot of the conversations with me and Cade, well, I didn't state that either, but mine and Cade's relationship wasn't really shown as big as it was, because we forgot to record. You know, who allowed a 20 and 21-year-old responsibility in recording? And there was so many times, like, if Cade or I was getting food, we'd be like, hey, you want to call? And call each other while the other person goes to get food.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You bring up a very good point, Ryan. We can only show what we have footage from, and we aren't following you around with cameras 24/7 while we're recording this game. We're relying on you guys to submit that footage. That's why maybe sometimes you don't see some pivotal confessionals from some people, because they didn't give us them, right? Like, we can only do so much. We can poke and prod you a lot, and we do, but ultimately it's up to the players in our long games to make sure they have an edit to be edited. So
wait, I thought I signed up for your game to have people watch me sleep. I thought you were going to be in my room, John.
Well, I mean, it's a different story. We'll talk about that later, Ryan. Let's talk about this next vote, Ryan, because this is, again, like, yes, as much as the Benji vote was this, like, turning point in the game, this is the one that really kind of solidified it into the way that you described it, as, like, voting blocks for the rest of the game. Because this is the point where Erin's going on a warpath at this point, trying to figure it out. And the idea is, like, you know, let's get Sam out. All the Gerstlauers seem to be a mess after this last tribal council. There are votes everywhere at this merge. And here we are. Erin, I mean, there's this perception that Erin is this uniting force. But from your experience with this vote that ended up with Tawni going home on rocks, was there a singular uniting force that brought everyone together from the chaos that was this merge vote? Or was this just players finally, like, tuning into the game?
I truly think it was me and Cade.
Okay.
Because, so, background story, I knew Erin from Survivor Michigan. Shocker. Who knew this? But I had the ability to watch her play and the knowledge of watching her play twice on YouTube already. So I knew how she played from the top, from the bottom, and from the top going to the bottom. I knew Erin is a very emotional player, and she's a very loyal player too. And I want to speak on there was in the 13th round, Erin was forming a thing with me, Benji, and Cade. We
Mhm.
call it the Breakfast Club with a dash because we had no K, but because we used our initials.
Right.
But and I knew she was gonna be a little pissed about it, but I knew she was gonna be pissed at way more people. And I knew the fact that we didn't vote Erin out, you guys just unleashed a beast. Like no one knew what was gonna happen but me. And I hopped on a call with Erin. And I flat out said, "Hey, I don't care if you cry, yell, or whatever. I don't care how many Zoom calls this takes. We are gonna, after we finish calling, we're gonna find a way that we're gonna work together." And I explained why the move made sense to me because I didn't care if Benji told Erin about his extra vote. That made sense. They were so close. The moment Benji told Katz about the extra vote, that was that was something I couldn't deal with because that meant Katz was closer to Benji than I was, and I couldn't let that slide. So me and Cade, like I really wanted to hammer it in with Erin, Bryant, and Gabby. You could tell they're fed up with the bullshit from Katz, Jordyn, and Sam. And I think like someone told Bryant that it was Gabby on the 13th round, like final 13, and he just votes Cade because he knew it wasn't Gabby. So with all the people they pissed off, we were able to group together as a 5. And I think the powerful thing about it is that no one would expect both me and Cade. There might have been some suspicion like me, but I don't really think that at 10 because you have confessionals saying there's no way Ryan flips to that side because he doesn't trust them. And I think that's why it was the perfect moment. I said before I was going to be the Trojan horse who destroyed from the inside. Well, instead of destroying from the inside, I let the outside in because I
Yeah.
saw someone also pissed off. So I'm like, hey, you want to help me lower this gate down so we can invade the castle?
Yeah, and I mean that's exactly what happens here. Cass, just from your perspective, because I've given everyone else involved with it their opportunity to talk about it. Talk to me about the conversation with Erin post Benji vote and how that went for you and what it meant for your relationship for the rest of the game.
Yeah, so this is another thing that I wanted to touch on in this because I wasn't on that. I was at my friend's, so I wasn't able to join the call right after Tribal with
Right.
Sam, Jordyn. So in my call with Erin after the next day, did not go well. I think for sure I had a lot of blame on me. I definitely at the end tried to strong arm her, which was not the right call. I think at the same time there's some shared responsibility in the fact that she did not want to see my point of view. I didn't really expect her to work with me at that point. I was like, this is so gone. Like it's so washed. Like there's no coming back from this. But I will say that, I think there was a lack of understanding in my point of view from like the way that I received the information and how that would make me feel. And it was just complete like, villainization both ways. And I think that really just limited the game resulted in the way it did because of the way that we refused to work with each other. Like so many people slip by that should not have if we had just like reunited. And it is what it is. It's okay. I'm still shocked that I came out of that war just like okay. But yeah, that conversation was not great. Could have gone better. But I was mostly honest in that conversation. The strong arming that I said was like something along the lines of like, oh, because you know what? This is actually another reason why we picked Benji over Erin, because Erin was the one who had chose Tawni, like mostly like pushed Tawni. Like they had no relationship whatsoever. I was like, there is no way that Erin is gonna work with Tawni after this vote either. That's not going to happen after all of this. Whereas Benji and Tawni had a relationship as well. So Yeah, so anyway, I had said to Erin, like, you're not gonna work with them. Like, you kind of have to work with us. So stupid. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. It's just like in another universe. But yeah, it was really dumb. But yeah.
But I mean, you weren't wrong. Erin and Tawni were not going to work together because they didn't whatsoever. And that's what led to this round going to rocks in the first place. Yes, Ryan, please.
I really think that's on me. I don't think this is shown, but I'm like, I don't trust Tawni at all because Tawni thinks I voted for her on the first vote, and I didn't find that out till final 13 from half. If you see, the tribal Tommy went home. I thought Tawni was going home. I'm like, no, I really hope Tawni doesn't go home because I wanted her safe. Well, damn it, I wish Tommy stayed. But yeah, no. Yeah, I really didn't want Tawni to vote with us because I'm like, I don't trust her. And I thought if those 4 vote Erin, they're not going to tell Tawni to vote. Tawni's just going to vote someone else. And then the 5 of us just vote Sam.
There was so much dysfunction. Like, the merge is the way it is because of just like the pure dysfunction. Like, it's
So
great.
absolutely. But in the most serendipitous way possible, Tawni's the one who ends up getting rocked out here, which
I was not happy about that. I was so mad. And it's not because I thought, I mean, yes, I did think I didn't realize, no one knew. Very few people knew what was really happening there. But I had tried to get Tawni on a call the night before, and that whole day, leading into it, she like fell asleep on me. I had to go to like my boyfriend's house, and and I was like on call with her with my boyfriend. I was like, LOL, say hi. Like, I was doing so much to try and like also be good with Tawni because we were good. We had a really good relationship. I just hadn't told her about the idol, and Cade told her,
right.
and I didn't know that. But I figured she probably knew about it already. So I was like gonna tell her everything, but our conversation got cut short. So I was like super frustrated because we had the fast round and the fast pass, and like then she gets rocked out, and I was like, I had all these things I wanted to say to you, and I couldn't say them to you because you're gone. And at the time, I thought she screwed us, so I was like, God damn it. But yeah.
Also, with the Tawni situation, I also tried to talk to Tawni that round too. It was like kind of she was like Tawni was busy, so like, but at the time I'm like in the game and I'm like, oh, Tawni hates me. Tawni's never gonna work with me. Tawni's gonna be out for me. They want me out right now, and I'm like, nah. So when Tawni drew the rock, I was happy. I'm like, let's go, because I knew the votes. I'm like, why would you vote Erin? And I'm like, yes. But also, like, speaking on the situation of the rocks, it was super scary. But like, Tawni left that tribal saying the best thing Tawni could have said.
Yeah.
I made it go to rocks.
Which like
which led me to be able to tell Sam, yes, I flipped. It was only me who flipped, and I wanted to go to rocks, but I wanted you safe. So I told them the only way I would flip, we'd go to rocks.
Yeah, and it turns out to be, honestly, one of the most genius moves because it completely obfuscated the fact that Cade was completely working with the other side at this point. And I mean, Katz, there's no better way to put it. You guys were kind of caught with your pants down on this next round.
Yeah, no, yeah. Had no idea. Truly no idea. Like Cade misted me. Like, he misted everybody. He was so excellently hidden. Like, yeah.
And it also didn't help.
Cade was peak.
Yeah, there you go. It also didn't help that Hathaway at this point has decided that this is the point that they want to start flipping on you as well.
Okay, so yeah, by the way, about that, like, let's touch on my relationship with Hathaway.
Let's do it.
So in the beginning of the game, like, I was very apprehensive about Hathaway, as was a lot of people, because they were just almost too active. Like, they were calling too many people. They were saying too many things to too many people. And people compare notes in these games and they talk, and like, everybody loves to talk about other people. So it's like everyone was talking about it. And so I didn't really ever believe Hathaway was my number one, but giving me information, so I was like, I'll take it for now. So I was taking it. We get to merge. Hathaway is like just laying out the entire game plan for us to win. And I'm like, this is not how I play. Like, I play more like a Bryant where, he floats an idea to Gabby, or like I floated to Jordyn, right? Like, is this rational? Like, what do you think about this? I don't like to play in a way that's like, this is our game plan. And like someone who's so adamant about it. And it's no shades of half. It's just like our games, our play styles are just not complementary. And so like, I didn't like that either. And so that kind of pushed me away. But what was really pivotal, where I was like, I don't trust Hath, was once the Divas reconvened and we all shared information at merge, like around the idol drop time. Hath was a big point of conversation there. Okay. And we had all talked about things that Hath had said to us, losers beach, winners beach, whatever, and it was all lining up. And we were like, Hath will go where the wind blows. Like, no one believed Hath. So I was like, I don't believe anything going forward now from Hath. So leading into this vote, where Hath is deciding to flip, like I expected it. I was like, eventually Hath is gonna know that I'm not with them. Like it just has to happen at this point. And Hath is like, I'm gonna be a mole. Like, I got y'all. Like, I'm gonna go to the other side. I'm gonna tell them I'm flipping, and I'm gonna be a mole. And the second Hath said that, I went to Jordyn and I was like, this is not real. Like, Hath is fully flipping. Like, no one volunteered, and Hath was adamant about it too. And like, we were like, we don't really need you to do that. And Hath was like, no, I want to do it. I was like, Hath is flipping. Like, this is telegraphing, hey, I'm gonna go actually flip, but I don't want y'all to be sus. So I'm going to tell you that I'm doing it, but tell you don't worry about it, but I'm actually going to do it. It was so clear. And, I was going to play my idol anyway that round, so it didn't matter. But it was really serendipitous that, I negated one vote with my idol and it was Hath's. And so like that whole situation was just so silly. Like, it was just crazy. So yeah, I mean, like, it stinks for Hath because I think Hath really never had footing in the game. And like, I love Hath as a person. Hath is a very unique person and I think like is very great to talk to. Like, I love talking to Hath just day to day. But in terms of the game, like, people compare notes, and I don't think Hath really realized that people were doing that. And so it just was unfortunate that, that's the way it went down.
Well, I think that's part of the reason why we see Final Tribal Council going down the way it does as well, though, right? And there's the confessional in I believe it's the Jordyn Boot episode, where they mention, I just have to tactically burn my bridges. And this is a social strategy game, and sometimes the social aspect of it is very important. And if, like, we see throughout the game, Hathaway's the person who is voting correctly at almost, like, from this point on in the game. They are voting correctly every single time. It doesn't matter because they burned their bridges with everyone. And at the end, you still have to make the jury vote for you. And like, I think Hathaway did what they needed to do to get to the end. I don't think they did what they needed to do to win the game, though, and garner the votes needed to ultimately become the sole survivor, and is why they're the one I'm not speaking to today.
Well, yeah, and I think another point that you kind of touch on is that, like, that vote where Hath is literally duped from both sides is the exact reason why Hath didn't win, because the trust in Hath, like, everybody sitting on the jury and post game, like, we have all talked about this with Hath too, like, was that, like, there just wasn't, like, people didn't believe Hath. Like, and that's why I say it's unfortunate that I don't think Hath really had any footing in the game. That was, and Hath says it at FTC, like, nothing was given to them, and I think that's true. Nothing was given to them, and yeah, and I think it, like, they had an impressive game from that point onward, but I think at the end of the day it's a social game, and so it just comes, like, FTC just comes down to, like, that, really, in my opinion.
I also want to add that, like, so I think it has a lot to. I want to bring up Cade's game. It has a lot to do with Cade, because not just the miss Cade had on the Divas and Hath, he had a miss on us. because no one thought Hath was really flipping, but
Yeah.
Hath was. Like the Divas saw Hath was flipping. We didn't see Hath flipping, so we ruined that relationship because of Cade. And then
Right.
who did Cade want out next? Hath. So if Cade got his way, Hath would be out the door. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. But Cade was playing masterfully at 9. But then we see Final 8 Cade come through, as what we all like to call him.
We sure do. But Ryan, now that we're talking about this part about it, like, let's talk about that distrust in Hathaway here, because whose idea was it to tell Hathaway to vote, like, yes, we'll vote Katz, and that's the plan here, and then just to vote Sam anyways?
It might have been mine, but I think it was a group kind of decision, because I brought hey, I don't think anyone really believed Hath was going to vote Katz anyways. So it was just a decoy name that, especially if we're making them think Cade's with them, let's tell Hath, yes, we're going to vote Katz, and then vote Sam, our real plan, because if we don't trust someone, or if we don't need the votes, because at 9, we need 5 votes. I forgot what Legend of Survivor said, but majority is 5, not 6. So let's get 5. And we had a strong 5. They didn't know we had a strong 5. So let's tell a decoy name that they believed the real name. Katz played his idol. And I mean, that was the worst case scenario for me, because all the power of the Divas went crashing down, and they weren't a threat anymore to some people. Bryant, Gabby. Oh, sorry.
Well, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned it, because we have to talk about that. Now Sam's gone, both idols are out of the games. There's been some denuclearization, and Katz, you find yourself in a very different position in the game now, where again, like, you were at the top, now you've fallen to the bottom, you're on the outs, but you're thrown a life ring immediately when Bryant comes and just rats out Cade immediately.
Oh man, yeah, I was so gagged. Like, I did not see that coming at all. I mean, so here's the thing, I guess, in a way I didn't know, but I had known that Cade voted Sam, right? So there's a lot of context there that I also wanted to talk to, was that, I went into that round really hot, post Sam vote out.
Right.
And that, coming out of that tribal being blindsided, Hathaway sent me a message of just a thumbs up. And I was like, is this really what we're gonna do? Like, you're gonna laugh at me when you just voted for me and got left out? And so then I went into that call really hot with Hathaway because of that. With Cade too, literally Cade messages me and is like, dude, they voted out Sam, what the hell? And I was like, are you kidding? I was like, there's actually no way that we're doing this right now. So I messaged him and I was like, Cade, what are you talking about? And Cade actually tried to lie to my face after it was so clear that he voted out Sam with everybody. And I was like, Cade, why are you lying? And Cade literally responds, he goes, you're right. I don't know why I'm lying. I'm sorry. And I was like, okay. So we get on a call, and that's why that call was so uncomfortable, because even through that vote, Cade was still lying to me, and I was just so over it. But yeah, I think when Brian had, Jordyn and I had went back, and because Cade was then pitching, right? I forgot, he was pitching take out Bryant or something. I don't remember.
Yeah.
Or Erin.
Half.
No, but after the Sam vote, I think it was Erin or Bryant, one of them. Anyway, the point was that he didn't want us to go yet, and he wanted to give us a lifeline too. And there was all these things going on, and Jordyn was like, okay, but I still kind of believe Cade. And I was like, no. I was like, we're not believing Cade. So there was this side quest of me, Bryant, and Cade almost becoming a trio, but that didn't happen because they didn't talk about it. So that was really weird. So there's all these weird things happening. And then Bryant drops that knowledge bomb, and I'm like, oh my God. And again, I'd mentioned before, that Bryant and I did have a close relationship, a ton of lies being exchanged, but constant communication about that. And bluntness about, hey, I can't be honest with you right now. And I think that goes a long way in keeping options open down the line, because I think that's what maybe pushed Brian to be like, no, I can throw them a lifeline. Like, we did once have a working relationship, and we didn't completely cut each other out the way that, me and Erin had cut each other out, which also was so dumb on both our parts. But yeah, so I think that was, part of it. But yeah, I was super gagged, and like, kudos to Brian for flipping the game like that, because it was a huge power move, and I think it definitely benefited him in the long run. So
Ryan, please.
Oh yeah, sorry. I thought it was half because my memorization of it was that Cade proposed to me that we were gonna work with you and Jordyn, and that after half goes home, the four of us would take out Erin, and then because Erin had immunity that round because she won the Extreme Flip Cup. So we were gonna take half out. It was gonna be a unanimous vote on half. So that's why I voted Cade, in case half had an idol.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but whatever it was, the bottom line was that like he wanted to work with me and Jordyn, and I was like, I don't trust that. That was the bottom line.
It was supposed to be the four of us working together, and then it was gonna put me and him in the middle between Bryant, Gabby, Jordyn, Katz, and that I didn't want to do that because I wanted Jordyn out, and then Erin out, and then because I figured once Jordyn goes out, I thought I could have a working relationship with Katz still, where Erin thought if Katz goes home, she can still have a working relationship with Jordyn.
Right.
Like, so we were both on like the same wavelength that we need the other person out because I wanted Erin out next, realistically, because the confessional that didn't get shown after the Sam vote was me going, let's go. The next four people I need out, because if this confessional got shown, it would have spoiled the ending. I said the next four people I need out for me to have a chance of winning are Jordyn, Erin, Cade, Katz.
Yeah.
So,
but
you almost got there.
I do want to say though, John, because this kind of brings up something you had talked about in Jordyn's after the snuff. There was like no point at which, and this is relevant to the post Sam vote, because there's a confessional in which that me and Jordyn, or not confessional, a conversation between me and Jordyn where we're laughing because we're like, no, it was super valid of them to flip on us.
Yeah.
So I just want to like clarify, there was at no point ever that Jordyn and I, or Sam for that matter, ever felt like people couldn't play their own game. Like,
yeah, of course.
The vibe was very much so like, we deserve this. And like, I do have a confessional where I'm laughing and I'm like, I'm on the bottom. I don't like it here. Like, this is what I've done to people, and it feels shitty, and like, damn, like now it's me and now it's my turn. So I do just want to clarify that.
Yeah, of course.
I think Katz and I had a conversation with him kind of hysterically laughing about us flipping and Sam going home and him being on the bottom. And I felt so awkward in that conversation because I'm like, I'm so uncomfortable right now. Why are you laughing so much? Like, I just felt so bad.
It was so funny. I was like, I literally spent all these rounds like doing so much crazy shit, and then I'm just on the bottom, and I'm just like, what is going on? Like, I'm like, how did I get here? Like, it's just there's so much going on, and it's so overwhelming. You just have to laugh, otherwise you cry, and I chose to laugh.
No, absolutely, and again, that's part of what people don't understand about these games is like the emotional toll it can take on you, and how it can all change at a dime because something out of your control, someone who is like playing their own game makes a decision and it completely changes everything and you can't account for it. So it's good to be able to just laugh through it or cry through it. Like if that's what your response is to, cry through it, yell through it, do whatever you need to do. Just like take that moment in order to right your ship a little bit. But Ryan, you brought up something that I did want to touch on. You voted for Cade. You voted Cade out of the game. And
Best
you did it.
This season.
The logic you provide in order to do this is everyone's putting votes on Hathaway. So if that's the case, and Hath plays an idol, and Hath is voting for me being you, Ryan, then I can put a vote on Cade, and that'll tie it so that both of us are safe from rocks, and somebody else goes home. I don't
So
know.
logical, isn't it?
I don't know if I've ever seen a larger reach in logic as to why someone would put a vote on their own ally.
But like, if the game automatically goes to rocks, and all I was hearing that round was Hath wanted to vote me because I'm the reason why Hath voted Katz, and Hath was saying I'm the reason why Katz and Hath's relationship is done. Like everything was getting blamed on me. So I'm like, okay, well, if this plan, Cade and Erin and Bryant, we were all confident that Katz and Jordyn were voting with us. So I'm like, well, if that's the case, have one vote go on Cade, because Hath most likely votes me in the scenario that we all are working together and everything, all the information I know. Hath plays an idol. Well, then me and Cade are also safe because it's auto rock and there's no revote. That was my logic to it, and I told Cade about it. I told Erin about it, so neither of them would be paranoid about why I voted Cade.
I mean,
I feel like it made logical
I
sense.
understand the logic here. It's just there's so many what ifs that take you to that point. It's a reach, and it's a really good thing this was a 6-2 vote for Cade and not something much closer.
Oh, yeah, no. So I think it's a funny vote. Like, it's a really funny vote. This is what happens when you actually have some power and you get super paranoid. Like, I understand why Kaz throws all the hinky votes he does, because if he doesn't throw it on someone he's not really working with, well, actually, he threw it on Benji he was working with. But, like, if you don't throw it on your, like, third tier ally, you're going to end up throwing it on your first tier ally if you hold it in too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. I think it made logical sense in the way that everyone was saying they believed Jordyn Katz, which is the dumbest thing I've ever believed in my life. Because there's no way that I ever thought Jordyn would work with me. And there's no way I ever thought Katz would work with Erin. So, like, that's on me. That's I will say doing the move was dumb because of the people I was playing the game with, because no logic shows that Katz and Erin work together, and me and Jordyn work together. But in the world where everyone does vote half, it's a great move. And I'm going to live in that world.
Okay. I mean, you can live, as you say several times throughout the season, perception is reality, right?
Yep.
Maybe.
I don't personally agree with that mantra. However, you said it enough times throughout the season. We have to assume it's the way we're going to look at this here. So we get into the Erin boot. I mean, the Erin boot's pretty straightforward, right? At that point, no matter if you were working with Erin or not, like Erin was just the fact that Erin had survived so many rounds at this point with being a target, with, being the center of attention. It was kind of an inevitability here that Erin would go.
Yep.
Oh, Ryan, we forgot to talk about your ducks.
Oh, no.
No, we have to mention your ducks. So you've already mentioned you were hamming it up a little bit, which we like TV moments.
Yeah,
I still
yeah.
like this is still part of the real Ryan because you still came up with it. It's still you, man. What motivated you to use these ducks? Were they just like ducks you happened to have lying around, or did you go out of your way to get these?
So, fun fact, they're not even my ducks. I don't even remember talking to Jordyn about ducks, to be quite frank. And yeah, there might be a reason I don't remember that, but we'll move on. So we'll go to the tribal council. And I'm just like, I'm in my friend's room. I'm at the fraternity house.
Mm-hmm.
I don't live in the fraternity because I live with my other friends. But like, there was some reason I was at the house and tribal was happening and stuff like that. And I ended up in my friend's room. and he had his ducks right in it. And I go, I'm going to talk about ducks. And that's legitimately, it was just an impulsive decision. Like, I just picked it from the corner like this, and I had no thought ahead of time. Yeah, asked a question, and I didn't want to answer the question. Kind of like when I said I was at the Pizza Hut and Taco Bell, at the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell in one of my voting confessionals. Because,
Happens.
yeah, no,
It's not even the weirdest place we had a voting confessional from this season.
Yeah.
I also want to talk about, we didn't have my confessional in the bathroom. I thought that was such a cool moment, and no, that didn't get put in.
Well, you can talk to
It's
McKenna about
nonsense
that.
anyway.
So Erin's finally gone. We get to the final six, and this is a big point where we start seeing people talking about like what their ideal final threes are in this moment. Katz, what was your ideal three at this point? There's 6 of you left in the game.
I think it's a good question. It didn't include Jordyn.
Same.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I want to tell myself, and I think I said in my confessional that I would have voted her out. It would have been really hard because, like, at that point, we become like, we still are good friends. Like, we still talk very frequently. So, like, we had become really good friends at that point, and that felt very beyond the game. That would have been very difficult. But I didn't want to go to the end with her. I wouldn't have won. So I think at that point, like realistically, once I started thinking about it more, was probably like Gabby Ryan. I mean, I was pretty happy with like Hath Ryan. Like that was out of who was left, like Hath Ryan, Gabby Ryan.
Well, of course you
Ryan,
won.
Gabby. Well, yeah, like no, but in thinking about it, like I was okay with pretty much any combination that just didn't include Brian. And yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ryan, what about you? What were you thinking at this point was your optimal final three?
I was just thinking, how could I get to final 5?
Yeah.
At this point, I'm like, well, Cade is gone and Meat Shields are gone, and I'm like, Bryant's never worked with me besides voting Sam out. Like, he didn't tell me about the idol play at the first tribal. He voted me out the Josh tribal. So like, I'm like, oh well, I got no one to really turn to. And I mean, I was just hoping that I could make it one day at a time, really. My ideal tribal council was me in the final 3, even though I kept saying it was the final 2.
Well, it's okay. We'll get to there. But yeah, and I mean, you made it to your final 3. So I guess you hit your ideal final 3. We see this immunity challenge, and it's a doozy. You're going through, you're counting, and everyone eventually is just like helping each other. And this is the one that Jordyn's not there for. And Ryan, the last time we had a challenge that involved like going to multiple rooms and stuff, you had some technical difficulties with your screen share.
No, this was the first challenge. This was the challenge.
Yes, you're right. This is the one that you were at. You're right. It's the next one that you end up winning. This one. So you have some technical issues with your screen share. And later you spin it into this idea that it was your way of getting a hidden immunity. We see you telling Katz that. Where did this idea come from?
Honestly, I got bored. Like, the thing is that I came up with that idea before knowing it was Jordyn. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna go home and have the other 5 feel like it was such an easy vote. So I'm like, I'm gonna stir up trouble, and I'm like, I'm not gonna stay because of this, but I want an eventful tribal council. I don't want to just be like a 40-minute video of like, oh yeah, Ryan goes home, yada yada. What really happened? I want to like suspense. Will Ryan go home? Yes, obviously he's going home. What did you guys think? He just pulled keys out of his hat and that was an idol? But no, I learned about the Jordyn thing. And that's why Lilly asked me if I wanted to do anything, because last Lily and Ian knew is that I was gonna play my fake idol before the votes and state it had to be played before the votes. Because in Survivor Michigan 3, this whole thing happened where it was a mixed tribal, and there was 2 people from one tribe, 1 from another, and then there was 4 from like another tribe. And the one person was working with a 4. So these 2 people only had 1 real idol. So they played an idol and a real idol before the votes, which screwed everything up. But they both were safe. So I said, you know what? Let's play ball. But after the Jordyn thing, I'm like, well, I don't really want Bryant in the end. And I felt this was. Did we do the immunity challenge right after tribal?
Maybe. I don't have the schedule pulled up in front of me, so I can't tell you off the top of my head.
Well, so I really wanted to work that relationship with Katz, and I thought Katz, once he hears something, he spreads it around. So I'm like, hey, I have this idol that I'm gonna play on you. And what happened? He spread it around.
Did I believe it, Ryan?
Oh, well,
No.
you got to my next question. Did you believe this ever at any instance, Katz?
Oh, I was like, okay, so play it on me then. And Ryan, I think you were like, no, only if I need to. And I was like, no, play it on me regardless. Like, what do you mean? I was like, what are you talking about?
We left the conversation with me gonna play it on you. No, you said that me play. No, you said that me. No, yeah, no, I was gonna give you the idol, have you play it. My
Bottom line was I was not buying it. I was like, there's no way. That was it.
Well, I'm like, Jordyn's gone now, so like, hey yo, you wanna like do something stupid?
I will say that challenge was very fun. Gabby and Jordyn did touch on it. The roller coasters was the hardest ones because the connection, like it was kind of skipping like a second. And I think Gabby said this, like a second in that video is like a whole coaster. So it was just messing up the whole calculation. I was very close to winning that one. I'm happy I didn't. I think it worked out for me better that I didn't.
Yeah.
I have since learned how to do slide puzzles. So
good. It's a helpful skill to have.
It's very methodical. Once you know how to do one, you know how to do them all.
I can do with 4x4 in under 30 seconds. And it took Gabby a whole like 2 or 3 minutes to get into the room after I was in there. I was so pissed that I couldn't, like, it's not that I didn't win the challenge, it's I didn't win a slide puzzle. That's what I was pissed about.
It's okay, everyone. Ryan can solve a 4x4 slide puzzle in under 30 seconds, but he can't figure out how to share his screen on Zoom.
Yeah, because I'm like 50 years old inside. I'm actually like I'm like the oldest person on this cast. You guys just didn't know
it. So Jordyn goes here, and in the next episode, this really interesting quote from you, Katz, that I want to touch on here. And it's you saying that they could, I think, I can't remember if you're talking to Bryant or Hathaway at the time, but you're saying, you could have let me in on this vote. I would have been fine with it. This is just you trying to make me look stupid in front of the jury. Did you really think that in that moment? Or is that just like one of those things that you say?
No, that's one of those things that I say. I do say a lot of things. No, I really believed that. Like, because I had been spending a lot of time for a while in the merge saying Jordyn and Sam are a pair. Jordyn and Sam are a pair. Everyone believed it anyway. It's not like I influenced anything. But I was furthering that message, and I was doing it with evidence. I was telling people about calls that Jordyn and Sam had with Bryant and Gabby. Like I wasn't doing them dirty, but I was, sharing information alongside of that message. So I was telegraphing that, hey, I'm not dumb. I don't want to go to the end with them. I love them, but whatever. So it was very well known to Bryant and Hathaway at that point that I would have voted Jordyn and I had no power to stop it. Like the idea that second idol was out there, like no one really believed that. Like if maybe people did and I didn't know, but like from my perception, like nobody really, like people had talked about there maybe being a second clue, but it was not a part of the conversation. So like Bryant and Hath knew that I would have probably voted Jordyn. I don't know. I don't know. I can't even say if I would have.
Mhm.
Genuinely in that moment, like I was like, they knew that I was sending this message across. I thought it was believable. I was like, they just want to undermine me again. Uh just it was just something I believed. I don't know.
No, you know what? And that's totally fair. Like I totally get believing that. I think it comes off as quite comical when it's shown in the episode.
Yeah,
But
but I can stop it was the bottom line.
yeah,
Like if
absolutely.
someone wanted to buy goodwill with me, they could have told me right before the vote or something. The day was like the point of what I was trying to say was like they had all the power. There really wasn't a lot out there that used me a little bit better there. And then, John, maybe if someone did that, Final Five wouldn't have happened. That's all I'm gonna say.
Well, we're gonna get
I
there,
mean,
don't
I
worry.
tried to reach out to you and Jordyn. I tried to reach out to you and Jordyn about voting someone else, and you guys both said, "Yeah, no, we're voting you." So I'm like,
Yeah,
well, you know what?
because that was a mountain of time and evidence that just fractured complete trust. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be honest for once. I'm gonna try and jury manage a little bit, and I'm gonna just tell Ryan I'm voting him out. That didn't work out for me. So
Well, if I ended up in the jury, it would have been better. But the fact that I stayed and you said that made me pissed. I'm like,
I get for being honest. Don't be honest. Like this is what happens.
like I said, don't be honest unless you know the outcome. If you know you're gonna play your idol, then be honest. If you don't know, don't say shit.
yeah. I get it.
So
Also,
we're in the
this
final five.
cast,
Yeah, okay, continue, Ryan. It's
cast
fine.
could keep secrets. No one knew how to shut their mouth. The minute you said something, everyone knew. I thought I was in high school again. I went to high school with like 97 kids. If something was said first period, everyone knew it at the end of third. And I'm
Yeah,
talking about the whole school, not just my class.
it was a very open merge. Like it was crazy.
Well, we're at final five, and it's very clear based on like the conversations everyone's having. Bryant is the major threat at this point. But Bryant also has this unbreakable duo with Gabby. So really, the two of you and Hathaway have to get on the same page in order to get Bryant out here. But that doesn't happen. And instead, we go to Rocks at final five because someone decided, you know what, Ryan is not talking to me, so I'm voting Hathaway. And I am so glad because I remember Final Tribal Council, and I remember how adamant you were at Final Tribal Council, Ben, that was an intentional play, whatever. I get Hathaway or I get Gabby out here. And I was like, there is no way this is intentional. I was so glad when McKenna texted me the clip of you saying, nah, I'm going to sell it like it was intentional, but there's no way that was intentional. And I'm so glad that was there for the episode.
Yeah.
Walk me through this because I just don't, I understand it, but at the same time, like I can't grasp it whatsoever.
Listen, I can't grasp it either. It was so crazy. Like I just couldn't figure it out. Like we start the round and like genuinely I don't trust anyone. Like I have no trust in anybody. And like honestly, there were conversations about like voting for Gabby. Like I mean I had floated it because like personally, like as I play games, I don't really like the concept of someone having a guaranteed spot in Final Tribal for various reasons. I think it takes up a spot from others. I think it makes it difficult to play around. You're limited in options. You're -1 with people that you can actually make do something, right? Like, so that was a thought in it. But I was talking to Bryant and Hathaway and Ryan and whatever. So conversations were being had, and like I think I mapped it out in that episode, right? Like, this person saying this person saying this person, and it's going back and forth and ping-ponging, and everyone is telling everyone what they're saying too. So it was like, I don't really know who's telling the truth because it was like Hathaway saying like, by the way, I'm going to say this to Brian. And then like, I would hear it from Bryant, and then Bryant would say, by the way, I'm going to say this to Hathaway. And then I would hear it from, right. So it was, there was no way to tell the truth of what was going to happen. It was truly a Hail Mary, no matter what, in my opinion, like the way that I was feeling in that round. So the reason why I threw the vote onto Hathaway was truly a gut feeling. like me and Ryan have hashed this out, but like we'll just have to agree to disagree on this. I understand what happened, but from my perspective in that round, Ryan and I had got on a call. Ryan felt difficult to reach. I understand why, but in the game, it made it difficult for me. So we had a call and we talked about the plan, and there wasn't like a solidified name between Ryan or Bryant or Gabby.
Right.
And so going into the vote, like I remember having my screen up and being like, like I'm waiting for confirmation from Ryan. Like I was waiting for like a text confirmation of like I'm voting Bryant, but like I just really didn't trust Ryan. Like I just didn't, and I felt like Hathaway knew that Hathaway had to do it, so I trusted Hathaway to throw the vote onto Bryant, but I just couldn't trust Ryan because of lack of communication, of just like fractured trust over the rounds, and so I had two options, and I did know that this could happen. Like it wasn't like I was like I have no idea what I'm doing. Like I'm just
Right.
gonna throw this. Like I knew that it was either basically Bryant or Rocks or I'm out. Like those were like the three options. And so like I sat in that voting confessional like going back and forth on it for a while. Like I was like and Ian and Lily were like they always do this whenever I sat in there and I was like what do I do? Like they were always like talk us through it. So I was like talking them through it and I was like these are the options. And I think ultimately I threw the vote on Hath because like if it did go to Rocks, okay, I'm safe. And I didn't really care between Gabby or Hathaway who went. Like because at the end of the day, Bryant was still there. And like that was part of how I sold it at Final Tribal. So like that idea was in my head. It wasn't intentional. But it was a possibility I knew of, and it wasn't like I was gambling to take this risk, like I had said in Final Tribal.
Yeah.
But it was a possibility. On the flip side of that, Bryant's telling the truth, and Hathaway goes. I'm also okay with that because Bryant's still there, and like regardless at Final Five or Final Four, I have to win immunity. Like regardless, I have to. So it didn't really matter in the scheme of things, in my opinion, at that point. And what it came down to was like I would just didn't want it to be like a 2-3 with me going home. Like I would rather have, you know, tried to figure something out in some way. It was very confusing. I didn't really know what was going on. Like I knew that these were the options. I did not know which one was going to happen. Just so happened that it happened the way it did. And I kind of stand by the fact that it set me up really well to make Final Tribal and win because, I mean, yeah, I got lucky. 50-50, I got lucky. So what? But Gabby went and Bryant was the big bad left. He had to go. Any of the three of us, it was 3 versus 1 for immunity. I don't have to worry about myself. I mean, I wanted to win, obviously, and I did, but like me, Ryan, or Half could have won individual immunity, and Brian's gone. Like I was pretty much guaranteed final 3 at that point.
Yeah, and you do bring up a good point. Like Gabby going there is actually quite advantageous for the rest of you because, like you said, like the odds are then 3-1 that someone other than Bryant wins immunity. Even though it goes down to a second tiebreaker in that challenge, and it was close. It was so close to not breaking your way there. It's a very good thing. Both of you are very bad at math. But either way, but Gabby going there really was kind of the best case scenario because what it did with that, other than Bryant, I think Bryant going there is clearly the best case scenario, but Gabby going there is kind of the best second option because it takes out the pair in the Final Four. Because even if it's a pair, even though the odds are technically 3-1 that someone other than Bryant wins immunity, probably means there's a fire making challenge in play because Gabby and Bryant will be voting together. So does open up everything here a little bit more. You do end up clutching that win. I mean, easy vote here, right, Ryan? Bryant is a very easy decision to get out at 4.
Oh yeah, at 4, no.
You're saying Bryant wasn't an easy vote at 4?
I throwing my game away because I was that pissed at Half.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Okay.
Why?
Because
right, of course. Let's get into it a little bit. You had that very long conversation with Hath where Hath blamed you for this going to Rocks and continuously called you a dumbass for like 20 straight minutes.
Yeah. Uh, so I'll just do the bullet points. One, uh, started to sing a song about me being so untrustworthy, saying, "I know you're fucking lying." Uh, Two, called he called me an idiot, and then changed it to whoever did this was an idiot and a dumbass, and then goes, "I still believe you did it," indicating I'm the one who did it, and no matter what I told him, he would still think I did it. So he was calling me a dumbass for 40 whole minutes. So I gotta really thank my friend Katz for that one. Cause also saying you didn't know who I was doing. I told you, Bryant, right before tribal. And you go, I didn't know. Then yeah, no, that's so I blame you. And I hope you're having a streak since the game of Katz saying that was a dumb move because I mean Hath saying that was a dumb move because Hath said that they would send me a snap every day saying it was a dumb move if I did that move.
Yeah, I mean, watching it back, it's very clear why Hath had such a strong reaction to that
Mhm.
because, like, Hath was very confident at 5
Yeah.
that the game was going the way that he wanted it to. My stray blew that up, so I can understand the strong reaction to it,
Wait,
but
wait, you mean my stray? You mean my stray vote?
well, yeah, and so here's the other thing too that I think was like kind of almost comical at Final Four was that like I didn't even have to like do anything to make people believe it was Ryan. Just Bryant and Hathaway just thought it was Ryan on their own. I didn't even have to lie. I was just like, I was gonna like fess up, but
Mhm.
immediately on call, both of them were already blaming Ryan, and I was like, sure, it's Ryan. So yeah,
John, this is why perception is reality. You disagree? I got blamed for 2 rogue votes, and I didn't do either of them. You want to know the
Well,
rogue vote I did? I voted out my number one ally. I hate rogue votes, John. I hate them.
well, Ryan, I think this is part of the reason why Final Tribal Council is so much harder for you than it is Cats. And I mean, there are some other reasons that it is easier for Cats than it is for you in this instance. Although, like, I think they kind of even out a bit. But I think you were dealing with this perception of yourself the entire game from the very first vote that you were this chaotic player who didn't really know what he was doing and was following a lot of people on votes. And that's why I think when we get to this vote, it could be blamed on you because it seems like you're just like this rudderless ship at this point that you might just do this type of thing instead. And I think that's why Final Tribal Council, I think, I mean, I think I mean, no offense, Cass. I think Ryan might have the strongest final tribal council performance, just because he has it doesn't have to get as defensive as you do, and not as offensive as Katz does or as Hathaway does in the final tribal council. And Ryan's kind of like the neutral ground there. Um,
And I sucked. I'll be dead serious. My tribal council was awful. I had an exam that day, an exam the next day. I was so tired. I will say, like personally, no matter if people say, "Oh, it was good," it was good. No, I will tell you personally, it was awful, and I didn't deserve to win off after tribal council because yeah,
I
you
mean,
could see it in my face.
I will say, like, Erin and Benji did approach me post game, said that couldn't vote you on the basis of like the game,
mhm.
but that they really liked my performance. But to your point, I did not feel like I had a good performance. And like while we were in the waiting room after Final Tribal for the votes to come in, like Ryan and Hath were talking, and I was like, I need a break. Like I shut my
Yeah,
camera off. I went into my kitchen. I was like, oh my God. Like that was so I've done Discord final tribal councils where it's like 24 hours and you're texting and whatever, and it's a lot easier mentally sitting there. I don't even remember how long it went on, but it went on for a long
it
time. And
is 2 hours. I can tell you that because I watched the entire thing in order for us to edit it for this episode.
I was getting grilled.
You
And I
were.
was really, really
exhausted.
The,
But
the
yeah,
jury was not kind to any of you. They were grilling all of you incredibly hard. But there were a couple of moments where I was like, man, they're really throwing a couple of softballs at Katz here. And it's from your fellow divas. There is an entire segment. I don't know if you two remember this. There is an entire segment cut out of this final tribal council where during Sam's question, the last like 3 minutes of it is dedicated to, hey, Katz, say something nice about everyone on the jury.
oh, I do remember that. Yeah, I do remember that. I forgot about that. Yeah.
And it was
So I
like,
skipped
oh, this
Final
is a little
Tribal
too
Council.
obvious that Katz is winning at this point. I have to get rid of this for Final Tribal Council. But
I completely forgot about that.
So I didn't watch Final Tribal Council back, but my memory of it was a lot of the time I had like the shortest time to answer
you did.
questions.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
did.
And I want to speak. Katz tried to elongate his answer, so I didn't have any time to speak.
It was
Which is
not intentional. I just
no.
I
That
can't
one
shut
was
up.
intentional. I will say that one was intentional because I forgot who it was, and they said, "No, Katz, stop talking."
I just yap. I can't help it. It's just what it is.
No, and both you and Hathaway do like yapping quite a bit. And it's very evident in Final Tribal Council as Ryan's like sitting there waiting for his turn patiently. And the jurors have to be like, okay, but we have to hear from Ryan still.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was surprised I even got 2 votes, to be honest, because I was so disappointed in my like Final Tribal Council. Also, when we talked backstage, Half goes, "Yeah, I think it's between me or Katz who's gonna win this," and I go, and I was just so mentally like done. I mean, I think I was like kind of mentally checked out after Final 5 because of a bunch of the stuff that happened, and I mean, I gave terrible answers. People wanted to hear my moves, not moves I made with other people. And the one time I go to say something I did, my number one supporter, Erin, contradicts me. So I go back and saying moves I did with other people. And I didn't state how, like, in the beginning of the game, I had to survive. Like, I played this game by going through the ruts, surviving. I mean, I won 2 of the 3 challenges of the duos twist, and then I had to build relationships with Katz, Katz, Cade, Tommy, Jordyn, and Sam. I didn't state any of that. But yeah, no, it was a time that I just forget. I want to forget it all.
In retrospect at this point, Ryan, is there anything that you can think about your Final Tribal Council or your game experience as a whole that like you're going to take into a lesson to the next game you play, or that you reflect on and are like, yeah, you know what, I could have done that better, or that you just like don't regret whatsoever?
The thing I regret is probably not utilizing the little advantages I did in the game to see, like stating how the Final 6 challenge got pushed back. Well, didn't get pushed back because I couldn't push it back. Then I could, and then I decided, hey, let's not tell Ian and Lilly. And I thought that was so metagaming that I felt so bad, and I thought I would have got in trouble for claiming that because I didn't find out I could push it back an hour before the challenge was supposed to start. And I'm like, well, who really cares at this point? As long as Jordyn doesn't win immunity, I'm fine. And yeah, no, I didn't know that would have actually went well with the jury. Also, I probably should have really stated the relationships I made and the perspective that, hey, everyone thought I was so untrustworthy and stuff like that, but I put myself in positions where people had to work with me and ended up not getting voted out and still been in this game. Things I don't regret, playing. I actually really enjoyed playing, and if you or someone you know wants to play an online game, apply to DCP. I mean, it will be the best and worst experience of your life. The worst only because it's Survivor and you're gonna be double guessing everything you do, but the best because there's no other game out there like this.
Well, Katz, first off, congratulations. You have won Corkscrew Cove. You
Boo.
have joined a very prestigious class of people to have won a DCP game. Looking back in your game, just give us a good, I mean, we've talked for over 2 hours at this point about it. Just give us a good like cliff notes about your experience and what it's led for or what it's done for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, like coming into this game, I really wanted to tweak my strategy a specific way. I think like I've had games, too many games where like I've been the one sniped, and I really just like wanted to change that narrative for myself. And the first org I ever played, I won. And so I think for a while, like I had felt like that maybe was a fluke and I didn't really deserve it. And I don't know, there were a lot of like feelings like that. So coming this game, I was like, I feel like this is the time where I can tweak this, because most of the games I play Discord not like this is going to be the game for me. So I went into this with that very specific strategy, and I think it worked. Like it turned out the way that I had wanted to tweak it, where like if someone gets sniped out of my group, like it's not me, and that I can pick up the pieces later. And I think that is effectively what happened. I think there's always room to grow in terms of like how I play the game, and there's definitely a lot of places where I fumbled and wasn't perfect, but I think that's the beauty of Survivor, is that like the person who wins isn't necessarily like the best game of the season. It's just the game that worked. And so I'm okay with that, and I'm happy about that. And I'm like, moving into whatever game, I play next, just like thinking about like how to not, end up in like a situation where people feel like particularly burned by you, right? Like me and Benji, me and Erin, like you have to be able to make these moves to win, but you also have to do so in a way that doesn't make people feel burned. On the bright side about this game, none of it was personal. I think, everyone really like took it in stride, and on a personal level, we're all really good. And so that's a positive thing. I don't think the game ever, transcendently, like that's kind of what this game was to me. And it made me finally feel like a winner, like which is something that I have doubted since I won the first game that I played. So all in all, very happy about that. And DCP is awesome, man. Like it is just such an awesome game. It's the most fun I've had playing an org, and not just because I won, just because in general the structure of the game is great, and being able to watch it back is great, and production's great. So
Katz, I have a question for you.
what?
If you can name your top 3 players of this season, who are they?
Can it just be me 3 times? No, I'm kidding. Top 3 players.
In the order.
Bryant, Erin, Cade.
Mine's different. Bryant, Katz, Jordyn.
Thanks, Ryan.
You won the game, and I do put emphasis, like, just because the winner's not always the best player, but you had to do multiple things right. And I mean, you had a power structure without realizing I think you realized, but you didn't really state that you had 2 meat shields ahead of you with Sam and Jordyn. Even though you had an idol, Jordyn was still a bigger threat than you, because Jordyn knew about both idols with no power. Like, I really want to put the emphasis. If Jordyn makes it to the end, I think she could be one of the best social players to ever win.
Yeah. She had a really good social game.
And yeah, now Jordyn and I are friends now, so like but if I ever play her in Survivor again, I'm voting her every time. I don't care.
Well, let's take it away from other players. Let's focus back on you two as we close off this season of After the Snuff. Ryan, what is one word to sum up your game?
Oh no, I didn't think of quackers.
Quackers. Oh, right, quackers. Katz, once again, congratulations. You are the winner, so I'm going to say you can't use the word winner as your one word for the season. What is one word to sum up your experience playing Corkscrew Cove?
I did think about using the word winner.
I think it would be meticulous.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Well, thank you
I would have
both.
said Rogue Vote.
That's 2 words. Doesn't count.
It counts for Katz.
Well, thank you both for joining me. It was an absolute delight. Congratulations again, both of you, on your performances this season. It's been an absolute delight having you part of the DCP family and watching back your experience all season long. Thank you, all the viewers who have tuned in all season long. This is it for After the Snuff, but it's not quite it for Corkscrew Cove. There's still a reunion to watch. There is still our production draft recap to watch. And let's just say someone might have done really well. But you'll have to tune in to find out exactly how well that person did. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel so you know when the next season of Dynamic Character Productions comes out. We've got a doozy in store for you next, so you don't want to miss. Make sure you're following us on all the social media so you can find out when our next mini, Como Bluffs, starts to air. Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the off season. Have a wonderful night.